As we're nearing the end of the summer, we're experiencing more cool and foggy mornings. The relief from the heat is refreshing, and the birds are starting to concentrate near our feeders, fruit trees, and flowers. There have been many ruby-throated hummingbirds passing through here lately. Although there are more than a dozen species of hummingbirds in the western United States, and perhaps hundreds of species in the tropics, the ruby-throated is the only hummingbird in eastern North America. The orange jewelweed is a favorite food source for hummingbirds around here. They typically prefer to nectar on tubular orange or red flowers, but will also eat insects. They often catch insects in flight, but they are also known to steal insects from spider webs. These tiny birds, weighing about the equivalent of a few paper clips, will require a lot of energy for the large migration ahead of them. They may stop in the scrublands of southern Florida to spend the winter, but they will more likely continue across the Gulf of Mexico and into Central America. The black cherry trees have been putting out fruit. The cherries are wildly popular, and not just amongst the avian and mammalian wildlife, but also amongst humans. The fruits can be used to make jellies and pies, wine and brandy, and as a dessert flavorings for ice cream and soda. And the fruit isn't the only useful part of the cherry tree. A cough medicine can be made from the sap, the wood used for smoking food, and its reddish-brown, hard wood is prized amongst furniture and cabinet makers. However, parts of this tree are poisonous, such as the cherry seeds and the leaves. The black cherry was one of the earliest trees from the New World to be brought back to European gardens. Records of the trees in Europe range as early as 1629. Now, they are considered an invasive species in many parts of Europe. But long before Europeans ever landed in America, the natives also cultivated it. Its natural range is in eastern North America, from Canada down to Mexico. But the Native American cultivars are found all the way down in South America. The eastern towhees are still common around here. We are seeing half a dozen to a dozen on a daily basis. They prefer scrubby fields and thickets, which we have plenty of around here on the sanctuary. Notice the black head and back, the rufous sides, and the white belly of this male eastern towhee. The females look nearly identical, but have brown where the black is on the male towhees. A few towhees may spend the winter here, but most of them will fly south, although not that far. They will only fly as far as they need to find suitable habitat with plenty of food. This means they will all stay in North America. There have been a handful of raptors migrating through this week. This sharp-shinned hawk, however, is not a migrant yet. It's one of the two that have claimed territory around the beaver pond. After about a month of observation, we've decided that the two are siblings and will probably live together their first year. We have seen other sharp-shinned hawks, though. One day, we saw two others besides these two. We've also seen a couple others on other days flying through. It seems that the Blue Jays have grown tired of playing the chase games with them. But they still chase each other every now and then. American kestrels have also been passing through lately. These are the smallest and most common of our falcons. They can often be seen perched in snags and on telephone wires, scanning the fields for prey. They mostly feed on small rodents such as mice and voles, and larger invertebrates such as grasshoppers. Like many birds, they see in the ultraviolet light spectrum. This does enhance their hunting abilities. Rodent urine, invisible to us, is the color of ultraviolet, so is seen by the American kestrel. By seeing a concentration of urine, it can more easily locate its prey. Unlike its larger cousin, the peregrine falcon, the kestrel poses little threat to birds, especially birds as large as blue jays. However, it is still a predator, and the blue jays still don't feel comfortable around it. They don't mob kestrels with the same tenacity as they would other raptors, but nonetheless, it is still good practice to keep them away. As all the alarm calls indicate, the broad-winged hawk is a dangerous predator. It is slightly smaller than the redtail, but still large enough to pose a serious threat to blue jays and other songbirds, and larger rodents such as chipmunks and squirrels. Broad-winged hawks are close relatives to the red-tailed hawks, and although they have a lot in common, including a similar diet, they do not compete much against each other. Red-tails tend to prefer more open habitats, such as fields, whereas broadwings tend to prefer more closed habitats, such as woodlands. Although they live a solitary lifestyle most of the year, broadwings are famous for their huge migratory kettles. Last year, if I recall the number correctly, we saw 84 broad-winged hawks pass over the sanctuary in one single day. Comparatively, however, this number is low. On major migratory highways, these can number in the thousands in a single day. And then, down in southern Mexico, where the migratory routes bottleneck, they can be seen by the hundreds of thousands. They will then spend their winters in Central and Northern South America. The sanctuary has been particularly colorful this week. The calico asters budded this week, and then a couple days later flowered. And the cup plant has gone to seed. I don't think I have to explain how that tall coreopsis got its name. And the black-eyed Susans are turning a beautiful deep red color. We've seen a lot of bugs lately, and this Panopoda caterpillar on one of our pin oaks. The great spangled fritillaries are still quite common around here. And this individual was being very camera friendly. Monarchs are passing through, but their numbers are distressingly low. And it's not for the lack of food. But their lookalikes, the viceroys, are relatively common. And there are no shortages of spiders or their webs. And some interesting mushrooms have been sprouting about, such as this Hortensbolete, an unidentified shelf fungus, white worm coral, and these Agarus silvicolas, or wood mushrooms. They started out white and slightly convex, and eventually matured into a silvery concave mushroom with purple gills. And lately, we've been seeing more and more deer around the sanctuary. We do our best to make them comfortable around us. We want them to feel safe here, so come hunting season, maybe they'll have refuge from the hunters. And that wraps up another fine week at the sanctuary.